Hey guys. So I think that yesterday we started seeing a little bit about what summary questions are. I'm not wrong. Let's take a look. So basically, summary questions are the last ones that you get, which it's going to be your 10th question. And these are the directions. Let's take a moment to read here. Okay, guys. So, Mateo, could you please read the directions?
Directions. An introductory sentence for a brief summary of the passage is provided below. Complete the summary by selecting the three answer choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. Some sentences do not belong in the summary because they express ideas that are not presented in the passage or are minor ideas in the passage. This question is worth 2 points.
So those are the instructions. Basically, as you can see, we have a box. Now, in this box, you need to choose 3 options out of the 6 that you get. You have 6 answer choices. You need to choose 3 options or 3 sentences that you believe would be good summaries for the main ideas or the most important ideas in the passage. Okay, so you need to choose 3 out of 6, and you will drag and drop them in the box. Okay. Now, remember this question is worth a little bit more than the other ones. It's worth 2 points, which means it's for like 2 of the other questions. But the good thing is that if you get 2 out of 3 correct, then you have 1 point out of 2. If you have 1 out of 3, then you have nothing. But if you have 2 out of 3, then that's a good point there. Okay. What else? As you can see, in the instructions itself, they say some sentences don't belong in the summary because, 1, they express ideas that are not presented in the passage. So some of these answer choices are going to be ideas that are incorrect. Maybe these are things that obviously contain some of the words that you are going to find familiar, that you read in the passage, but the ideas are not going to be true, or they're not going to be mentioned in the passage itself. So you have to be careful not to pick one that is incorrect. And second, and this is the most important thing, some answer choices talk about minor ideas. So, for example, if in the text, in the passage, they talked about, I don't know, let's say they talked about, let's see, the religious shrines, right? They talk about the shrines. So maybe one of the answer choices will talk about that as well. Maybe one answer choice says, Teotihuacan may have achieved some religious significance and its shrine may have served as an additional population magnet. Maybe you have this exact same sentence in one of your choices, but you need to ask yourself, is this really important? Is this a main idea in the passage? Is this what the passage was all about? Or is this just some minor idea that was used to support a specific thing? Right? That's what you need to ask yourself. Even if it's true and even if it was mentioned, is it a major idea? Is it something relevant to the entire passage? We'll see. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to please read the answer choices. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to read and let me know what you decide. Let me know which 3 options you would choose. Okay, so please take a moment. Let's read. Okay, guys. So which three options would you choose? What do you guys think? Which options? Mateo, give me one.
I think C.
Okay. Laura, what about you?
I was thinking maybe A.
Okay. And Valentina?
Maybe E, but I'm not sure.
You want to know, you know what? Actually, you guys are correct. Options A, C, and E are the ones. A, C, and E. So you got it. You got it right. And you didn't even need to go back to reread the paragraph. I hope that you didn't. And tip number one, I'm going to give you, first tip I'm going to give you for this question. Please don't reread the passage. Okay? That's like a big waste of time. By the time that you get to the 10th question, by the time that you get to the last question, which is this one, I'm pretty sure that you have already read the 6 paragraphs that you had in the passage. Why? Because question 1 tends to ask you about paragraph 1, question 2 asks you paragraph 2, and so forth. So by the time you get to the 10th question, then I'm pretty sure you've read everything there was to read in the passage. You don't really need to go back and reread. You're just going to waste your time. A lot of people spend too much time in this question. And although it does require more time from you, it's not worth it, even if it's worth more points. It's still not worth that you take time from the next passage. Remember, it's the last one. So you should finish your passage in 18 minutes. Obviously, if you have more time, if you're answering these and you have 3 minutes to have your 18 minutes for this passage, you can review, no problem. But if you're running out of time, you just have 1 minute, then please don't go over that minute that you have for the passage. You cannot take time from the other passage. So it's better not to reread. You have already read some context in the beginning, and when answering the questions, you finish reading all the paragraphs. So you will have an idea when you're reading this. And try to quickly eliminate options. That's the best way that you're gonna go. Eliminate options quickly. Start by eliminating options that are very or too specific to be a summary. So for example, option B is like extremely specific, right? It's talking about one specific thing, population growth. It's being limited to one specific period in time. So this passage wasn't about population growth. It wasn't Teotihuacan's population growth. It was about Teotihuacan's development and all of the factors that led to the development. Even if population growth or immigrants were mentioned in the paragraph or in the passage, I wouldn't say they're our main idea, right? But if we compare it with E, for example, E is talking about everything, right? It says in many important areas, from the obsidian industry to religious tourism. But in between obsidian industry and religious tourism, there are many more areas that are not mentioned. And Teotihuacan's success and prosperity typify the classic positive feedback cycle. So in general, it talks about Teotihuacan's success and prosperity, which is the main topic. And one more tip I'm gonna give you, ideas that are mentioned in the introduction and in the conclusion are more likely to be the right choices. So if you find ideas here that were mentioned in the intro or conclusion, they are very likely gonna be the right answers. In this case, the positive feedback cycle was mentioned in the conclusion. And remember what was mentioned in the conclusion and in the intro is more likely to be one of the correct ones. So option E it is. Same thing goes for option C, right? It talks about many things. It talks about several factors, including but not excluding location, resources, irrigation, the elite. All of that account for Teotihuacan's development. Look at the keywords, right? Teotihuacan's development and the factors. That is what the passage was about, right? Teotihuacan's rise or Teotihuacan's development. So again, Teotihuacan's success, Teotihuacan's prosperity. That is what we want in the summaries, right? We don't want an option that is focusing on only one factor, in this case, religion. So this isn't about the Teotihuacan's religion. It was about the Teotihuacan's development. So option D, again, is very specific to be the one. Same goes for option B, right? It says that Teotihuacan may have developed its own specific local religion. So one more thing, we're focusing on religion only when we want everything, right? It looks tempting. Honestly, I think that option B is the closest one. Like if we weren't so sure about one, then maybe I would choose B because it also talks about Teotihuacan's prosperity. But it's just focusing on one factor. And we would preferably want more factors, not only one. Instead, option A says the number and sophistication of the architectural, so architecture, administration, commerce, and religion, all of that indicate the existence of centralized planning and control. Again, this idea was mentioned in the introduction. So that gives us a clue that it could be the one. Right? So is this okay? Remember the tips. Quickly eliminate options that are too specific. Second, ideas that are presented in the intro and conclusion are very likely going to be the right ones. Look for the keywords, remember, that have to do with the title, Teotihuacan's development. And don't waste too much time in here. It shouldn't take you more than 2 minutes, especially if you are already against the clock, if you don't have that much time to finish the passage. Don't take time from the next passage. Okay, guys? Is this okay so far? Do you have any questions about this one? No? Okay, that's great. So that's it. I think that's it. We're not missing anything, are we? Do you have any questions now about the reading section or any of the questions that we've seen? Yes. Great. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna send you a document. We're gonna basically do another practice set. It's about smart energy. And this time, obviously, we're gonna do it faster. You guys are gonna do it. I'm just gonna be here. Okay. I'm gonna send you this Google Doc. Okay, guys, please open the document. Guys, it's a little bit larger. We're gonna practice from this website. It's called examenglish.com. Okay, it has good material for the TOEFL test. But remember, it's not an official website. So this is an official practice. from the ETS. So it won't be exactly as it will be on your test, at least not as similar as the one we did from the ETS, but it's good to practice. Okay, so please take a moment to scan the text. I will give you 3 minutes so that you can try to find the main ideas in the passage, in each paragraph, and just have an idea of what it's about before we start answering the questions. Okay, so 3 minutes to read, please. Guys, so time's up. We're gonna start answering the questions. Remember, you have the text, so you can go to it and you can try to look for the answers on your own. Now, Ricardo, could you please read question number 1?
According to paragraph 1, what has happened in some oil-producing countries?
Thank you, Ricardo. So this is, what type of question is this? This is a detailed question, right? It's asking for a specific detail. So please look for the answer in paragraph 1 and then compare it with the options. Let me know what you think, okay? You guys, so what do you think? Which one is it? So what has happened? What do you say, Evelyn?
D.
B as in boat? Yes.
Yes.
Do you guys agree? Is it B?
D.
Or you said D, global warming. Yeah, that one. Okay. Henry, do you agree?
Yes.
So global warming is more severe here than in other countries, right? Now let's see, let's go back to paragraph 1. Remember detailed questions, so let's look at the keywords. It says what has happened in some oil producing countries, right? So paragraph 1, oil producing countries. So here it is, right? In some major oil producing nations, basically same thing as oil producing countries. So what has happened? Peak oil has already been reached and there are increasing fears of global warming. Consequently, many countries are focusing on the switch to a low carbon economy. This transition will lead to major changes and so forth. This is what has happened. First thing, peak oil has already been reached. There are increasing fears of global warming there, and countries are focusing on the switch to a low carbon economy. So, what tells us that global warming is more severe here than in other countries? Is it because they say that there are increasing fears of global warming? Is this an inference question? It's not, right? Remember, detailed questions are direct. The information will be here. So you guys are coming to the conclusion that global warming is more severe there. But we don't have to do that in that type of question, do we? Because they don't say that global warming is more severe. They just say that they are afraid of global warming, right? They are constantly more and more getting more and more afraid of global warming. But we don't really know if global warming is more severe there or not, do we? What do you guys think? Laura, what would you say?
I'm between B and C. I think that B.
Yeah, they're not producing great. So B is the right choice, guys. They're not producing as much oil as they used to. This is something that they should directly be saying, right? We already know the answer. What has happened? Peak oil has already been reached. The peak oil is basically the point, the maximum point, right? The point where they sell the most oil. And if it has already been reached, they are past that point. So they are not, right now, they're not selling as much oil as in the peak oil, right? Peak, okay, I wasn't sharing my screen. Peak oil, basically it's something like this, right? So the peak of something is the point where the maximum point, where they sell the most oil. If this peak oil has already been reached, so we've passed that point, we are somewhere here, right? That means that they are not selling as much oil as they used to in the peak oil, right? That is what we know. What has happened? Peak oil has already been reached and they are focusing on the switch to a low carbon economy. So right now they're trying to switch to a different type of economy. They're not using oil as much, but they are focusing on switching to another system. That is what we know. I understand why you guys could think that global warming is more severe there, But again, the strategy you're using is the one that you should be using for inference questions. If this was an inference question and they would be asking, what can be inferred about what is happening in oil-producing nations? Then yes, you could say that global warming probably could be more severe. But this is not an inference question. You don't have to draw conclusions. You just have to look at the explicit objective information you get. You guys, do you understand that? That idea? Yes? Is it clear? Any questions? Okay. So in the producing countries, peak oil has been reached. They're not producing as much as in the peak oil. Question 2. Valentina, could you please read question 2?
Okay, where in paragraph 1 can the following sentence be placed? Do I have to read the
Yes, please.
sentence? Okay. There is also likely more electricity generation centers as households and communities take up the opportunity to install photovoltaic cells and small-scale wind turbines.
Okay, thanks, Valentina. So we have this sentence and we need to place it somewhere in paragraph 1. Let's figure out where. Sending you the sentence in our chat. So we have 4 options, sorry. We have option A, so we could place that sentence here. We could place it here in option B. We could place it here in space C or in place D. Where would you guys put that sentence? A, B, C, or D? The sentence is in the group chat, by the way. So what do you guys think? A, B, C, or D? Harry says D. Laura says C. And Evelyn says D. Okay. So, okay, let's go for majority wins. Let's go for D, but let's see. It makes sense or not? So option D is actually not the one. You know, if we look at it, okay, let's go for what Laura says. Let's go for C. Now, if we look at this, as you can see on my screen, we have to understand what this sentence is about, right? This sentence here is about electricity generation centers, right? There's also likely more electricity generation centers because of this and this and that. So you have to look for the sentences that talk about the same. The previous one serves as an introduction to this one, right? Because it's also talking about electricity generation. So it says there will be an increase in power generation and as there is growing electricity generation from renewable sources. There is also likely more electricity generation centers. So both of them kind of complement each other if we think about it. One thing that there's going to be is an increase in power generation. And obviously, if there's an increase in power generation, there has to be more electricity generation centers, you know? So both sentences are related. Once that you find the sentence that is related, that talks about the same thing, generation, electricity generation, it could be before the sentence or it could be after. So the two options that you should be considering should be B or C, because we already know that this is the sentence that talks. So it could be B or it could be C. In this case, since it says there is also, that means that there has to be something before, right? So it has to go in the second place. It has to go in C. Because one, there will be an increase in power generation, and two, there's like an additional thing, more electricity generation centers. No, so that's the trick in this one. Understand what it's about, electricity generation centers. Look for another sentence that talks about the same, and it could be before or after. And there you have to look for clues, you know? So is it okay? Do you guys see how these two sentences are connected, how they go together? Okay. Great, so see it is. Now we have question 3. Henry, could you please read question 3?
Which of the following is not a benefit of smart grid technology to consumers?
So this is an except type of question. First thing, you need to look for benefits of smart grid technology to consumers. You need to compare it with the options, and you need to see which one is not mentioned as a benefit. So take a moment to do so, please. Okay, so here it says option C, it can allow them to turn appliances on and off when they're not at home. Ricardo also says C. Okay, good. What about the rest? Maria Rene, what do you think?
C, teacher.
Okay. And Evelyn?
C, teacher. C, teacher.
Okay, guys. Anybody disagrees? Okay, let's choose C. Not correct. Are you sure? I mean, what paragraph talks about the benefits? This one here, right? Smart grid technology offers benefits to the consumers. So we need to first understand, remember, in except type of questions, we first look for the benefits, or we look for the information that was mentioned, and then we compare until we get to the one that was not. So they will be able to collect real-time information on their energy use for each appliance. That's one benefit. Varying tariffs throughout the day will give customers the incentive to use appliances at a time when supply greatly exceeds demand, leading to great reductions in bills. Okay, so the second benefit is that it will lead to great reductions in bills, right? That's the second benefit. For example, okay, smart meters can also be connected to the internet telephone system, allowing customers to switch appliances on and off remotely. This is option C, isn't it? They say allowing customers to switch appliances on and off remotely. Isn't that option C? It is, right? So why did you choose C if it was mentioned? Furthermore, if houses are fitted with the apparatus generator, appliances can be set to run directly from the on-site power source, and any excess can be sold to the grid. Okay, so excess of energy can be sold to the grid. They can switch appliances on and off remotely. So if they're not at home, they can do it outside of home. They're gonna lead to reductions in bills, and they can collect real-time information on their energy use. Those are the benefits. If we look at 4, it says, I'm sorry, it's 3, right? It says 1, it can reduce the electricity bills. Was that mentioned? Yes, right, it was. Reducing or leading to reductions in their bills. Option B says, it can tell them how much energy each appliance is using. Was that mentioned? It can tell them how much energy each appliance is using. Is it mentioned? Yes, right, it's this. They will collect real-time information, so they will know their energy use, so how much energy each appliance is using, right? Their energy use for each appliance. This is option B, is it? You guys agree? Yes, right? Reductions in bills is, we already said that, right? And allowing customers to switch appliances on and off remotely is option C. You can allow them to turn appliances on and off. It's the same as switch appliances on and off. Remotely is a synonym for when they're not at home. So C was mentioned. The only one that's left is D. You cannot reduce the amount of energy needed to power appliances. Is that okay? Why did you guys go for C? Why C? I'm curious. You know, sometimes, and this is like actually really sad, and it happens. Sometimes we don't even see the not, and we don't identify it as an exact type of question, and we choose the one that was mentioned, the first one that was mentioned. So careful, that's why they put it in capital letters. Always make sure that you read that not carefully and you understand the question. Okay, Laura, could you please read question 4?
According to paragraph 4, what is the problem with using renewable sources of power?
Thanks. So, hang on. Hey guys. So please try to answer this question too. You can go back to paragraph 4. Give you some seconds. Okay, guys, so we have 2 messages. Henry says C. Do you guys agree? They do not supply a continuous flow of energy. Valentina, what do you think?
Maybe A.
Maybe A, they do not provide much energy. Okay. Henry's changed his mind. He says B now. They often cause system failure and blackouts. Okay. Mateo?
I think D.
Okay, so we have D, B, and A. And Laura?
A.
A, okay, so we have two A's. Evelyn?
C.
Okay, we have a bit of everything in here. Ricardo, what about you?
I think D.
D, okay, I don't know what to do. Let's go back, let's read. This is a detailed question, right? What, why, when, where? What is the problem with using renewable sources of power? Paragraph 4. Let's go back to paragraph 4, which is this one here, right? It says, with these changes comes a range of challenges. The first problem, the first challenge involves managing the supply and demand. So that is the problem, basically, right? Sources of renewable energy, such as wind, wave, and solar, so this is a keyword, renewable energy, are notoriously unpredictable, and nuclear power, which is also said to increase as nations reach infinite, is inflexible, right? And then this is an explanation, but basically this entire paragraph is focusing on the first problem. Now, what is the problem in your own words? It says it involves, this involves managing the supply and demand, right? But why? Renewable energy says, is unpredictable and nuclear power is inflexible. That is the answer, right? Wouldn't you say? Remember, in detailed questions, the answer is going to be there, very close to the keywords. So renewable energy, what happens with renewable energy? Is unpredictable and nuclear power is inflexible. So the alternatives are unpredictable and inflexible, and it's difficult to manage the supply and demand. So if we go back to the options, option A, they do not provide much energy. I don't know if that was said, right? That they don't provide much energy. They say that if the energy they provide, or like the way they work, is unpredictable and it's inflexible. I think unpredictable because it depends on the weather, right? It depends on external factors. They often cause system failure and blackouts. I think this is mentioned, but I wouldn't say this is a problem. This is the effect of the problem, right? Because they do cause system failures and blackouts. They say, with alternative sources, this is far more difficult and may lead to blackouts or system collapse. But that isn't the reason, right? This is like the effect of the problem. But what is it? I mean, why does this happen? Why do they produce system failures or blackouts? Option C says they do not supply a continuous flow of energy. I don't know. Or they can be used at off-peak times. I don't know if this is mentioned, is it? Don't think so. This isn't mentioned, right? Option D is not mentioned. Or is it? Potential solutions include investigating new and efficient ways to store energy and encouraging systems to use. Okay, this is about the solution. This is about the effect of the problem. But the problem itself, the challenge, involves managing the supply and demand because sources of renewable energy are unpredictable and inflexible. This is about oil and gas, right? It says with oil and gas, it is relatively simple to increase the supply of energy to match the increase in demand. Okay, With alternative sources, it's far more difficult and may lead to system. Okay, so what do you think? Are you sure? Because you are giving me different options. So what's going on? Has anyone changed their mind?
Maybe
Maybe
C.
You're right. That is like the origin of everything. They do not supply a continuous flow of energy because they are unpredictable. If it's windy, then it's gonna be totally different than if it's sunny, right? Maybe if it's windy, you will have much more energy, but if it's sunny, then you won't have that much energy. So it's not continuous. You don't have the same amount of energy going or being supplied. And that's the thing, right? It's unpredictable, it's inflexible, and that's the reason why they may cause system failures or blackouts. So I honestly would have been between B and C. Option A is not really mentioned. Nowhere in the paragraph says that they don't provide energy or much energy. It only says that the energy they provide is unpredictable. And they can be used at off-peak times. It has to do with the solution, right? It has nothing to do with the problem. So honestly, I understand your confusion. I would have been between B and C too. So either B or C. This isn't gonna be as perfectly designed as in the TOEFL test, but coming to the roots of the problem, it would be C. You know, like maybe the effects of the problem would be B. So is that okay? Yes, does it make sense? Okay. Question 5 says, in paragraph 6, what can be inferred about cities in the future? Okay. So take a look at what we know about cities in the future and see what information we can, based on what information we can come to one of these conclusions. Okay, look for evidence for each. Give you some more time. Okay. So what would you guys say? Can you guys infer?
I think
Okay.
it's C.
Sí.
Ricardo says C. Evelyn, what did you say?
Um, Ravi?
You okay? And Henry says D. Okay, we have different opinions. So as for option C says all buildings will generate their own electricity. What makes you think that it's C? What part in the paragraph can you use as evidence for that? For C.
Well, it says that utilizing a range of sustainable power sources, transport solutions. No, sorry, I think that's not a part. No. Yeah, it says transport solutions and infrastructure for charging electrically powered vehicles. I mean, infrastructure for charging electrically.
Okay. So you said C, all buildings will generate their own electricity, right?
Right.
Okay. And why infrastructure for charging electrically powered vehicles? But what does that have to do with buildings producing their electricity? Infrastructure means anything, right? Any construction that will be used for charging electrically powered vehicles. So these are like chargers for the electrically powered vehicles. What does it say about buildings though? These are not buildings, right?
I think there is not anything about buildings.
All right, we don't have anything about buildings. Producing their own energy? I don't think so, right? Because this is talking about cities. But no, this is, maybe you thought that infrastructure referred to buildings, right? But not necessarily. This is just like chargers for the vehicles. So I wouldn't really consider C. Now, what about D? Who said D? Henry, you said D. Why D? What made you think that D could be the one? It says smart grid technology will only be available in cities. So,
Because they talk about the cities, about they are prime candidates for investment into smart energy, and also they are talking about that infrastructure of the cities is already changing fast. Mhm.
so yes, it says cities are prime candidates, so they are really good candidates for investment into smart energy due to this and that. It is here, so in cities, where smart technology is likely to be promoted first, right? And then they also say that this technology will be added in layers. So starting with quick win methods, like basically easy, quick, fast methods, and then followed by more advanced systems. So they say that definitely cities are the place where this technology is going to be promoted first. But I don't really see anything that tells us that it's the only place where it's going to be used. They're going to start in cities, but nothing tells us that that's the only place they're going to go. Right? How do we know? Because that word only says that cities is the only place where they're going to go. But they say that it's going to be promoted first in cities. I don't know. I'm not so sure.
It's so specific, the answer. Mhm.
Yeah, right? And those are the modifiers that we were talking about.
Yes.
Okay. If it were smart grid technology will be available in cities or will be first available in cities, yes. Now, who else? Like we said, somebody said B. Did someone say B? Nobody said B? A? I think somebody said A, right? Said A. Nope, nobody? So what do you guys think? We have eliminated C and D. Is it A or B?
Maybe B,
Okay, and why B?
because it talks about electrically powered vehicles.
Exactly, yes, that's correct. So it says transport solutions will be implemented in an infrastructure for charging electrically powered vehicles. So obviously, if you have an infrastructure for charging the vehicles, why would you have that if you don't have the vehicles? So you need to have first electrically powered vehicles in order to create infrastructure. So there's no reason why somebody would just create the chargers without having the vehicles. And that's how we can infer that there are gonna be electrically powered vehicles. If we have the infrastructure for charging them, then we should also have. So people in cities will be using cars and buses powered by electricity. We can infer that, right? Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions so far about what we did today? I'm gonna send you this link. It's a good website. Not the best, probably, but it's useful and it has some practice sets. Do you guys have any questions before we go? Guys, please don't forget today's survey. Next class will already be starting with the listening section on Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining today. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, teacher. Have a good weekend.
Bye, teacher.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, teacher.
Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow, teacher. Oh.